Why don't you take us through your signal chain?
Yeah, it's very confusing. Sometimes I'll be up here like pushing buttons and hoping that the right sound comes out. But the main thing is I go into the polytune, of course, and then underneath is a compressor, which is the Origin Effects, the Cali 76.
Oh yeah, those are cool compressors.
Under there, yeah, which is, I guess people like to use that for slide and stuff, which I do a lot.
Yep.
And then that's where it gets pretty weird, but there's some weird stuff that I'll talk about later.
Weird is good.
But then I ended up just going through like a kind of a drive section. So I've got my Wampler stuff, got the Tumnus and the Bell. And I use this Fuzz Lord Octave Master a lot. That gives me like my Jimi Hendrix kind of tones. And then the GT Core 1000 is really like the center of everything. I use it to cycle through patches for different songs, and there's probably like 5 or 6 pedals on here that are MIDI controlled, so I can get my different chains going pretty easily. Yeah, and that's the gist of the actual guitar to the amp signal.
Okay.
But the weird stuff starts with this Old Blood Noise Endeavors. Is that what it's called? Old Blood Noise Endeavors, yes. Signal blender.
Yep.
So I've got, I just use one cable and I'll plug it in, and then I can just switch to either the acoustic, the banjo, or the amp.
Okay.
The kind of interesting thing about this pedal board is I put all the instruments through the Super Ego Plus, and then I have a separate chain that doesn't go through the amp. It gives me like a kind of a synth pad. It gives me the kind of ethereal things that people like to do these days.
Yep.
And there's a secret combination of pedals underneath here that I can't talk about. But it gives me a very unique textures. And then I can just kind of play whatever I want, and it gives it a different sound.
Can you not talk about them just because you haven't seen them for a long time?
Yeah, kind of. I don't even know. I don't even want to know what's going on under. Yeah. But yeah, the acoustic, on the acoustic side, I use the Fishman Aura. Even though I have microphones in both of my acoustics, I feel like it just gives it a little bit more of that kind of natural microphonic space to it. And then I use it with my acoustic guitars as well. So I have a lot of different options because, sometimes I forget if my guitars are functioning. So I might need to like play this one acoustically or something like that. So it gives me a lot of options.
Yeah, a lot of it. Well, do you ever find yourself accidentally hitting the wrong loop or pedal?
Yeah, all the time, every single night. I wear these big boots, and I got some of these, pedal cap things on that make it easier. But yeah, and I keep the stage kind of dark and hazy, so there's a lot of happy accidents that happen when I'm playing.
Cool. Yeah, and that fits the vibe of your music, the dark, hazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, what are you using the microcosm for here?
That's kind of like a red herring, because I get a lot of guitar players trying to figure out how I get my sound, which now you know what it is. So I just put that on there so they think that it's that. But every once in a while, I'll turn it on, and honestly, I haven't like read the manual, so I'll just start turning it on, and it always sounds cool. So
cool. Yeah, I know it's a granular delay and a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah.
A lot of filtering and other interesting things going on.
Yeah.
And you've got an ML9, so that's also helping you create some of those ethereal textures, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I got to do a lot of bending over for, but
to put it on different settings.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen. Why don't we hear like the ML9 and some other things in operation? Why don't you lay a couple of your favorite sounds on us that you play and tell us how you're creating them? How's
that?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
The GT1000 Core has a lot of options for parallel effects routing, so I can have multiple delays and pitch shifting going on that are all separate. So it gives me cool sounds like this, where I like to do a reverse delay a lot, and then just a standard delay, and then a pitch shift on there on top of that. And then even within this, I have the Plethora X3 in the loop of the GT1000 Core, so I get a whole nother set of effects that I can use, and people don't like it, but I have fun doing it. then when I get the super ego going underneath it, it just creates big textures.
And when you first started playing a minute ago, before we got into this, what were the pedals that you had going during that first part of what you played? It sounded like a couple of delays, and I don't know what else.
Yeah, that was the same thing going on the GT1000 core, the reverse delay, and I just kind of. That's the cool thing about it is, once I get it set up, I can kind of just hit different combinations, and it always is something interesting, and it kind of surprises me sometimes.
Okay, and you know, who's this little guy out here?
That's the SPD1 kick. It's like a stomp box kind of thing. I actually have an 808 sample in there, so it's like really powerful, more than the kind of, you know, stomping on the porch sound. So it kind of gives me a more modern sound.
Yeah, as opposed to like an old stomp board with a microphone on it.
Yeah.
Which a lot of guys who play solo use. Okay, so you've got a couple more devices back here, and obviously these are hand controlled while you play. So what do you got? What are you up to?
Yeah, I've got the Akai MPC Live 2 that I run some kind of like pre-programmed drum tracks out of there. And I'll do like live manipulation of samples and stuff. There's a lot of sampling in my set. And some of it is on the album too. And I use a lot of Electron stuff too, for like really affected samples and kind of like noisy background stuff. Keep it interesting for myself. But I do a lot of drum machine programming at home and on my record, so in the last year or so, I've brought it out to the live set.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the weirdness. We've covered a lot of the flexibility. What about your drives? You've got drives and you've got distortions in here. Tell us which ones you're using and maybe give us a taste of dirt.
Yeah, the drives have kind of just been accumulating on the pedal board because even though I'm quoted about saying blues has too much guitar soloing, I'm guilty of it myself. So I just want to have different ways to just get the best out of the pickups. I start with the TC Electronic Spark, the mini Spark booster. That kind of stays on most of the time. But the Tumnus isn't also kind of an always on one for me, so
okay.
It's just clean. And then the Tumnus helps it cut through with the amount of low end I have with the backing tracks. It really helps that cut through. And then both of them together, just feels beefier. You know?
Yeah, and it lets you really sustain that low end too.
Yeah, but then I kind of switch around. I do fuzz sometimes. On this run, I've just got the Overdrive that I just crank, and it's been serving me pretty well. I get some good sustain out of it, which is mainly what I'm looking for. And then when I really need that last little push, I use the octave boost from Fuzz Lord.
Yeah, there we go. We'll do that.
Which also introduces some weirdness too, which I like.
So the word weirdness has come up a lot.
Yeah.
So you got into playing solo. What made you decide to take it weird? What was the thing that kind of made you want to step outside a little bit? Because it's, you know, this is way different than just kind of hanging out and playing unamplified acoustic guitar.
Yeah, a big part of it was like the expectation. Like a lot of blues fans have these weird expectations of what I'm supposed to be doing, and I just was annoyed that people were telling me what to do.
I hear that, yep.
But I was also opening for a lot of like rock bands and kind of big bands, and their audiences just didn't want to hear what I was doing, so I just got louder than them over time, kept getting louder and louder to get them to shut up. But I've always experimented with music, and I've always done so many different genres, and the Buffalo Nichols blues thing kind of just took off, but I didn't want to stop experimenting, so it's just the natural course of things for me.
Oh, fantastic.